We begin our conversation today on political paradigm with an examination of a suggestion by the former vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 general elections, Atiku Abubakar, who is asking other political parties to join him in forming a formidable opposition, one which he hopes will stop Nigeria from sliding into a one-party state. Who is heeding to this clarion call? And are his concerns valid? Welcome to another Tuesday where we are talking politics. This is Political Paradigm, live from our Abuja studios, right here on Channels Television. I am Kayla Magwa. My guest on the program is the chairman of the Labour Party, Mr. Julius Abure. And for the next hour, we have quite a lot to talk about, beginning with the opposition coalition suggestion by the PDP. Mr. Julius Abure, welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you so much for having me on your program today.
Do you agree with the statement by Mr. Atiku? Is Nigeria sliding into a one-party state? And what are your thoughts on the coalition opposition? Is this something the Labour Party might consider?
Well, to a very large extent, I must concede to the fact that arising from the outcome of the 2023 general election, the elections held in Imo, Kogi, Bayelsa, and of course, the court cases and the pronouncement of the courts, if we are not careful, we may be sliding towards a one-party state and a one-party dictatorship. The signs are very visible, they are clear, and for me, there are genuine fears that is being expressed.
Well, is this some sort of coalition that you would be favorable to as a party?
Well, at this stage, we, as a party, we have not, we've not had a conversation around the topic. We have not taken a position as a political party as to whether we'll go into coalition or not. But personally, if that becomes the option to save the country and to save Nigeria, then why not? If it will save our democracy, if it will help us have better results, if it will put food on the table of Nigerians, if it will give us good governance, if it will enhance our institution to develop and grow, if that becomes the solution, why not? It is an option that we can look at.
Let's talk about some of the things that are going on in your party. You're actually speaking to us from Benin right now, you know, where the deputy governor has declared his intention to contest in the next governorship election. There were feelers out there that he might make that decision to do so under the umbrella of the Labour Party, but of course he has done so under the umbrella of the People's Democratic Party. Was that something that you were looking forward to? Were you hoping he would run under the Labour Party as well?
Well, he didn't really discuss with us, and we didn't at any time have that conversation with him. So I wasn't really expecting him to come to the party.
But you did hear those rumors?
We have a lot of aspirants in the house, which is, we have close to 15 to 20 aspirants already in the house, among whom are very prominent, who can, if they win, we believe that they'll be able to drive the process of growth and development of the state and reposition it for greatness. So we have men who are eminently qualified to govern. So I didn't really hear the rumor, but he has gone to PDP, and we wish him good luck.
All right. Well, you know, it's been an interesting few weeks, you know, watching what's been going on, especially with your party. Let's take a look at some of the internal issues going on with your party. I'm going to go on a national level in a bit, but just so you can tell us what it is that is going on in Benin right now, which is where you are. How are you positioning the party for the governorship election in the state?
Well, that's why I'm in Edo. I do 2 weeks now in Abuja and then do 2 weeks in Benin, apparently to put the party together reorganize it where we have issues, disagreements. We try to sort them out and reposition ourselves to be the party that will win the election next year. I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that we have the capacity to win the election next year, given the aspirants that we have in the party and the performance of the party in the last general election. So I am firmly of the view that if we consolidate very well, harness our potentials together, be one strong and indivisible party, I'm sure we'll be able to produce the governor next year. I have a very strong feeling that those states need the best of the best to be in government house next year. Over the years, we've not been very lucky to have governors in the state who are passionate about the growth and development of the state. And that's why the states have been very, very backward in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of governance structure, name it. And therefore, I feel very strongly that Labour Party can change this trajectory, change this narrative, and reposition the state for growth and development. And so that's why I'm here, for the purpose of the election next year.
There have been conversations really about, the unity in your party. The Labour Party really did fashion itself out to be, that voice, especially for very young people. So I want to talk about some of the internal wranglings going on in your party. There's a lot of dissatisfaction. We've had people come on this program who actually even said, oh, the national level says something, but there is a side of the Labour Party that seems not to be on the same page. Is everyone on the same page with the Labour Party? In the Labour Party, is everyone who claims to be a member of your party on the same page?
Well, a political party is a conglomeration of people with diverse interests and diverse views. Obviously, it is difficult to get everybody to be on the same page in terms of the views of people. But I must say very clearly that Labour Party members who are passionate about the well-being of the party are on the same page with the leadership of the party. Obviously, we have some disgruntled people who are obviously no longer part of the party, who are singing different songs. But I believe very strongly that those who mean well for the party are united with the party. We are strong and indivisible. And I'm very sure that as we move towards reorganizing the party for the future, I believe very strongly that the party will be able to come together and make tremendous impact.
Maybe we should talk a bit about, the off-cycle elections. Recently in the nation's capital, we saw the candidate of your party, who ran for governor in Imo State, actually did a protest here in the nation's capital. Talk to us about your thoughts on these off-cycle elections and the outcome. Before the elections, you had, stated your concerns about security and how that would affect, voter turnout. And you had made complaints about voter intimidation, even intimidation of your party members, in parts of the country where these elections were to hold. Talk to us a bit about the outcome. How do you feel about the outcome of these elections?
Well, the outcome of these elections are one of the worst elections that I've ever witnessed, where results were said to have been written even before the results were, even before voting. We also had issues of voters intimidation, voters harassment, vote buying, harassment of voters, and several other irregularities that were involved in the off-cycle election. And that again forces our position that we need a comprehensive electoral reform in the country. And that has been my position and the position of the party immediately after the 2023 general election. We feel very strongly that there should be a holistic and comprehensive review of the electoral process so that the yearnings and aspirations of the people can truly be accommodated within the political space. And therefore, the outcome of the election in the 3 states is really, really unsatisfactory. And that's our position. We've stated that very, very clearly. And those, like you rightly put it, like you rightly said, we had earlier raised those concerns even before the election. The issue of security, the issue of voters turnout, voters harassment, voters intimidation, and all whatnot. Those were the genuine concerns that we raised before the election. And they equally played out in on election day. And there's no doubt that that equally affected the outcome of the election. We are highly embarrassed till now that you have within 21 days to file your election petition. As at today, or as at the time of protest that you refer to, we're yet to get the certified true copy of the results of those elections.
And that was actually what I was about to ask you. His demands, at the time when he went to the INEC office with the protesters, how far have things gone with those demands that he made?
As at today, I may not have feedback as at today, but as at the last time I reviewed the situation with the Cuba candidate, INEC was here to release the certified true copies of those results. And we equally had the same challenge with the presidential election. It took us almost 15 days after the presidential election before we were able to get the certified true copies of the documents that we got. So it's part of the challenges that is an aspect that I think that we need a review of the Electoral Act and our processes. Even if you examine the Supreme Court judgment, all other evidence that we adduced through subpoena were excluded by the Supreme Court on the ground that it was not part of the election petition. But the challenge that you have is that it's difficult to get some of these certified true copies before you file your election petition. And so this again have affected the justice and outcomes of all the elections that we have, especially the general election. And I'm sure it will also affect the outcome of the off-cycle election. And that's why it is the position of our party today that we need a comprehensive review and reform of the electoral process. I feel that justice is not being done with our electoral process and electoral system.
I mean, that actually brings me to my next question. With all of the things that are going on, it must be pretty demoralizing. The reforms that you're asking for. Let's start with the electoral reforms. What kind of reforms are you referring to here?
Well, I think that we need to go back to, again, look at some aspects of the waste report, which was really, really...
The waste report?
Yes, which I think had a lot of some solution to the challenges we have in the electoral process as of today. The Electoral Act, the Constitution, name it, will no doubt require a comprehensive review looking at the outcome of or the pronouncement of the court cases from the Supreme Court and down to all the tribunal, all the pronouncement that resulted in the outcome of the election that we have. We have to look at them, look at the electoral process itself, look at the use of beavers, and several other reforms that we need. It's a process that we need to comprehensively interrogate. We have to also look at the role of security agencies in election matters. Are they playing the role they are supposed to play? How can we do things differently? a whole lot. And that's why we said will require a comprehensive review of the electoral process. It's a process that we need to thoroughly interrogate moving forward in Nigeria.
Now let's take a look at the judicial reforms that we hear everyone talking about, and you have expressed some displeasure with the way a lot of the pronouncements have been made about your party in courts since the general elections, and of course with all that we have going on right now. Talk to us about what reforms you would like to see in the judiciary that could make your party feel more comfortable in the process.
I think that generally Nigerians themselves, including the judiciary, will need the reformation of their consciences and their orientation. Not reducing what I want to say now to the judiciary alone. There is general corruption in the country, and it's an aspect that we need to seriously look at as a way of our lives, because there's no doubt that it has affected our institution and general way of life. We must reform ourselves because change must begin with us. The issue of corruption, the issue of looking at the laws again in line with the lacuna that we found in the law as it relates to the pronouncement made by the court. We need to harmonize it. As it stands today, the law appears to be very uncertain in terms of as it relates to the electoral process.
When it comes to the elections, I want to find out from you, your presidential candidate in the 2023 general elections, Mr. Peter Obi, how is he? Are you in constant contact with him?
Yeah, constantly. We speak every day.
He does have a reputation of changing parties. Do you think he will be the candidate for the Labour Party in the next general elections? Are you thinking that would be the case?
Well, let me state categorically that Peter Obi, as of today, is the national leader of the party. I enjoyed working with him, and I will enjoy working with him again. We enjoy very close working relationship, and you saw that we were together in the campaign in Imo, Bayelsa, and even in Kogi. Right now, he's outside the country, and we recently held the NWC meeting together. And so we are bonded together, and we are working together.
Well, you didn't quite answer my question. I'll get back to it shortly. But I want to find out, as a party, with the situation we have in our country and with the way things work out here, do you think that the Labour Party, with you as its chairman, do you think you're playing Nigeria's political game correctly? Or are you, as many people have accused you of, being a little idealistic?
Idealistic. Well, I wouldn't know what you mean, but I will answer it within the context of my understanding of your question. In Nigeria context, people do wrong things and say it's politics. People betray you and say it's politics. People steal money and say it's politics. People buy votes and say it's politics. So if that is the context with which you have asked that question, I will answer clearly that to that extent, you can say that we are idealistic. But I think that for me, we have not played politics correctly the way we should play it in Nigeria. I feel strongly that there must be some morality attached to politics. People believe that politics should not be played with morality. But I think that there must be some sort of morality in politics. And to that extent, we have the mission and vision to actually do things differently. And you agree that that played out in our participation in 2023 general election, right from the process of selection of candidates, through the campaigns, and all our activities throughout the campaign became very clear that we wanted to do things differently. And therefore, I'm determined to continue in that crusade because I feel very strongly that we should play politics differently from the way we used to play it. A lot of political parties have no party internal democracy, and it is our intention to play it differently. So if all of this is what you refer to as being idealistic, I will concede to it. Probably when you put it in the proper context, we'll be able to answer properly. But I think that we need to play politics differently. Today, people went to the National Assembly platform of a political party and also lead the party to defect to another political party. I don't think that we should move from one party to another party, which has become a tradition of a major politician. So some of this trajectory is what we as a party is determined to change. So, and I'm sure that that's what you refer to as being identity. If that's what you mean, I can say that you are correct.
Well, you're absolutely correct. That is what I mean. You know, when people look at politics in Nigeria, you know, it's easy to look at what should be, but then there is what is, you know, and it's very refreshing to hear a politician talk about how we need to do things differently. We need to, you know, change the way this game is done. It shouldn't be so dirty and immoral. But until that change comes, you know, you're just going to, at least listening to you explain yourself right now, as a party, you're just going to remain this, what you've fashioned out to be a voice of morality or the voice of reason or the voice of doing things right. But you do understand that you are in a contest, and you're in a contest with people who do not adhere to those rules. You know, until the reforms that are necessary to ensure that your school of thought and your belief system gets you the power that you want. Should you still be playing the game this way?
The truth is that a journey of 1,000 miles definitely will begin with a step. We can't say that because there are challenges or that because the pole is doing the wrong thing, that we should all get involved in doing what is wrong. Apparently, that is why the country is actually in a mess today, where people go to offices and instead of using public office to satisfy and meet the public goods, it is used to amass personal wealth for themselves and enhance their own family and even reach their families yet unborn. And for me, we need to start this journey of reorientation and changing our beliefs. For me as a person, I think is the right way to go. We all cannot continue to do things in the manner in which we do things. People are suffering, people are hungry, there are no jobs, people are not unemployed, there's hungry in land, people are suffering in the midst of plenty. Obviously, that trajectory cannot continue. And whatever sacrifice it will take us to make in order to see that things are done rightly, things are done properly, I think it is worth the sacrifices that should be made for our own country. And I want to believe that that was why a lot of Nigerians, young people, old people, follow the Labour Party. You will agree with me that what happened in the 2020 general election, the massive support that we got, wouldn't have never happened in Nigeria. And probably because of what we stand for, our beliefs, and people believe that we do things rightly. And I'm sure that all through the processes of the campaign, we showed that we can truly be an alternative political party. And so for me, there's no regret at all. I'm willing and ready to continue in that trajectory until we get majority of Nigerians to believe that this is the right way to go. If we have treaded on a path for 22 years of our recent democracy, and it has taken us and led us to poverty, to hunger, to unemployment, and deprivation of the people, I think that we should do things different. And I'm an advocate of that. And Labour Party is solidly along that trajectory. And I believe that Nigerians generally believes in the philosophy, the ideology, and the program of the party. That's why they came out overwhelmingly to support the party. For the first time in the history of politics in Nigeria, people spent their money, people defended their votes to a very large extent, and the change will gradually come. I believe so very very, very strong. And they may have delayed the victory for a while, but I think that they can never stop it.
I mean, you truly were the third force. Your party, I'm going to go back to that question that I said you didn't answer. The one where, do you think that Mr. Peter Obi will still be in your party in the next general elections?
He will be.
How are you so sure?
100%. Peter Obi is very dependable, reliable, and he has found a party of his choice. He has found a soulmate in Labour Party. His sojourn in PDP was an error. I can state so categorically. And today, whether we like it or not, Peter Obi has become the symbol of opposition in Nigeria. And the only party that can play that role effectively is the Labour Party. I therefore do not see any other party that Peter Obi will go to and be able to mobilize and have the goodwill that he has this time around. A lot of us in Labour Party are principled people who believe passionately that we should do things differently. And Peter Obi's philosophy, his ideology, his way of life, his character, his thinking is reflective of the ideology and philosophy of the party. And I'm sure that's why we didn't have difficulty in tagging along with him. Immediately he became the presidential candidate of the party. So I have confidence in Peter Obi. I believe in him. I believe in his philosophy. And I'm very, very convinced, beyond doubt, that Peter Obi goes nowhere. We'll build this party together. We will grow the party together and make it the solid opposition. And we'll be in government. I'm very convinced about that. And
I mean, he did join your party when it was clear he wasn't going to get the presidential ticket for the PDP. Before that, he belonged to another party. Yeah. But you say he has found his home. The Labour Party is home for him.
Yes. He has found a soulmate in Labour Party. I can be very sure of that. We work very closely. We work as a family. We work in unity. And we are very passionate about the growth and development of the country. We are passionate about doing things differently in the country. We think very strongly that governance will be able to do better in the hands of Labour Party. And I'm sure that Peter Obi will be the answer.
There are people who believe that, him joining the Labour Party was a mistake. That the People's Democratic Party had a stronger chance of wresting power away from the All Progressives Congress if he had just stayed put and run as vice president to Atiku Abubakar. The Labour Party in itself has said, you have fashioned yourself to be that party that wants to be able to take power away from the opposition. You want to, stop us from sliding into a one-party state. You agree with Atiku Abubakar on that particular conversation. However, your presence in the political arena and the group that you amassed, in the prelude to the 2023 general elections, many people can say is a split. What the Labour Party may have done in being a third force is reduce the chances of the opposition wresting power away from the ruling party. What do you make of this school of thought?
Well, we have played our own part, and I must say clearly that we won the general election. If not that the election was rigged. We actually came number 1, and PDP number 2, and APC number 3.
Well, the courts don't agree with you.
It is very clear, and therefore, whether Peter Obi left and joined the Labour Party or not, or whether it would have affected the outcome of the election, doesn't really matter. I do not believe in that school of thought. We actually won the election. You are a journalist, and I'm sure you followed all the events in Lagos, how voters were suppressed, how people were killed, coming down to the east, to the south, west, south, north, central, name it. We won that election overwhelmingly, if not that we were rigged. So the issue of whether we divided the votes of opposition didn't didn't really matter. It didn't count. It's because the election was rigged. That was why we didn't win. We won that election, clearly.
You believe you did better than the PDP?
Obviously, the records are very clear.
Well, the courts don't agree with you, Mr. Abure.
And that's why we have, because I'm a lawyer, I'm very conscious in talking about the judiciary. And I can assure you that I would have been very vociferous about my statements. But
no, I mean, it's possible it's possible to air your views about the judiciary without lambasting them or blacklisting them. It doesn't, criticizing someone doesn't necessarily mean that you've blacklisted the person. There's freedom of expression. You can express yourself. Do you think that the judiciary did not serve you well when it came to the Supreme Court judgment on the presidential elections?
Obviously, I've said so. I'm sure that you read my reaction and at the position of Labour Party after the presidential election. We said so very clearly. And if you reflect back, I have not made pretenses about that the judiciary failed the people in the 2023 general election. I have not pretended about that.
You know, as we begin another election cycle, well, in a few years, the conversation has come up now that we should engage the electoral cycle early in the process. Let's not get shocked.
Yes, I agree with you perfectly, and that's why Labour Party is in the forefront in spearheading activities that will herald electoral reform in Nigeria. It's a cardinal program. We have come out with two cardinal programs after the election. First is that we must champion and pursue a comprehensive electoral reform in Nigeria. Second, we must engage in political education of our people. Because if democracy is about the people, for the people, and by the people, it means that their participation is key. It's difficult to explain a situation where ordinary Nigerians will collect 5,000 naira and vote for a candidate who they are aware will obviously not perform and meet the yearnings and aspirations of people. Before now, I used to think that the problem in the country was only that of leadership. But I've also come to the conclusion that the followership is also part of the challenges that we have in the country. And therefore, we need political re-engineering. We need the orientation of people. We need to raise the political consciousness of our people. And that brings us to a situation where we have to embark on massive political mobilization and conscientization of our people. It's a two cardinal program that the Labour Party is determined to pursue. And I can assure you that within the next 2-3 weeks, we shall hit the ground running. We will engage the system such that before the next general election, we'll have a comprehensive review of the electoral process. I agree with you perfectly that we don't have to wait for a night or 3 days to the election before Mr. President will sign a new electoral act.
I mean, you mentioned a lot of aggrieved members of your party. Is there a reconciliation plan in the works?
Well, it is not ruled out. I believe very strongly that we should build consensus. We should reconcile our differences, be together, and be able to make the party to be stronger so that we can win election and truly prove to the world that Nigeria can work. We need all hands to be on deck to join in the building, strengthening of the party, and above all, capturing power for the good of the people. So, for me, I have no quarrel whatsoever with any move for reconciliation. If I have the opportunity, if I'm allowed, I spearhead it and bring everybody on board.
Is this party the opposition? I mean, when I think back to the, to the general elections and the, the activities in the build-up to that election, and how many young people I saw had pitched their tents with your party, and it was almost like a revolution in our country, seeing young people wanting to engage so much in the electoral process. And we did see a lot of those young people go in the direction of your party. And no one can deny that.
The source of strength of my...
That movement, with everything that's happened since February, that movement, is it still intact? Are you still that movement that the young people of Nigeria can look at? Because we watched, a lot of young people watched in dismay these court processes. We watched, a situation where we saw two leaders in this party. We saw a lot of disappointing stories from the Labour Party, not from its presidential candidate, from the party which you are chairman of. Do you still have that movement? Can young people still trust you?
Obviously, the very bane of our success and the stronghold of the party is rooted in the young people. And the young people truly know their leaders. And Labour Party is the vanguard upon which young people can actually and really participate in the democratic process. No other one. And I must say clearly that the structure of the party today is built around that formidable movement. In Edo here, a lot of young people are the ones who are in the forefront in my party. They have become leaders of the party and we have absorbed them. I can assure you that that movement is intact. The party is intact. It's just that after a general election, obviously political activities will reduce, and that's what is generally playing out. But I believe very strongly that the young people are with us, and because this is the only party they can truly belong and participate. And you can see that we do things differently. We've never disappointed them, right from the electioneering, through the election, the court processes, and even post-election. We have always stood on the part of people. Our comments, our utterances, our disposition, our behavior is in line with what the people want. And I'm sure that you can even see that clearly from my disposition and from even this interview that I'm having with you. And obviously, progressive-minded young people has identified with the party and the party.
I also wanted to find out from you, one of the criticisms of the Labour Party, after the elections and with the court cases that we saw afterwards, was that it was built on a lot of emotions. Your cases were built on a lot of emotion and not fact and things that you could prove in court. What do you make of those criticisms?
Those criticisms are actually baseless. It must be coming from APC, no doubt about it. All the evidence that were adduced were excluded, like you saw in the courts. All the witnesses subpoenaed who tendered one document or the other were all excluded by the courts. And so if you've excluded all the evidence, how do you say that they were based on emotion? So what about the issue of 25% that was raised and several other issues that are very obvious that you can see? Apart from even the issue of the result, what about the laws? Where the law is clear and done at people's, the judiciary is under obligation to interpret the law the way they are. Did we see that happen in the judgment? So it's very obvious that it wasn't our petition were not based on emotions. They were factual. It's just that the judiciary chose and decided what they wanted.
Well, before we let you go, there is no perfect situation. Were there mistakes made by the Labour Party in the 2023 elections and even in these off-cycle elections that we just experienced? What mistakes were made? What are you learning from? What are you going to do differently in the next elections?
Well, in subsequent election, we need to probably look critically at the issue of our agents. We probably would like to start early to profile our agents, work on it. Most importantly, most of what happened was not from us really as a party. It has to do with the system itself. And that's why we are saying that electoral reform is very key to moving forward in our electoral process. So, well, some of those lessons learned, we're taking look at it. Obviously,
just agents, just party agents, that's the only lesson?
No, there are several other works, and we will do a postmortem and be able to come out clean and correct some of the mistakes that we made.
I mean, I'm listening to you talk about things that need reforms. I was thinking there'd be more. Just the agents and these things. What about party ideology? What about positioning yourself? What about how you engage with the people? What about how you engage with opposition? What about coalitions? You know, you would think that, you know, there'll be more.
But well, I thought that we have discussed all of that. I'm sure that you started this conversation with the issue of coalition. We have also discussed.
Well, that was a suggestion from the PDP yes, candidate Atiku. I'm talking about you as a party. Are there coalitions that you'll be working on? You know, what, apart from training party agents and whatnot, what other things do you think would clinch you the presidency in 2027?
Well, like I told you that we are going to engage in political education. We are going to equally expand the party in terms of membership. We are going to embark on training and retraining of our officers at all levels, ward, local government, and even state officials, so that we can have better outcomes. And several other reforms that we intend to bring to the party.
Well, we'll be watching to see how those reforms you know, happen across the country, and of course watching your party to see how they are able to get themselves together for the next elections. But I want to thank you so much, Mr. Abure, for being with us on Political Paradigm. Good luck with all the work you have ahead of you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. The way you smile and talk about Labour Party, I wish you are a member of the party. I'll be glad if you are one of us.
I'm beginning your campaigns already. Well, thank you so much for that, and good luck.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have been speaking with Mr. Julius Abure, National Chairman of the Labour Party, and that's Political Paradigm this week. Please join the conversation via channelstv.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. I am Kayla Magwa. See you next time.